All right, and happy Friday, everybody. Super happy to be here. We recently, the Mr. Wolf and myself, picked up a new solo RPG that we're actually going to try doing together because, two heads are better than one. But I decided to sit down and really just do a quick review of the book itself. We did order a physical copy of the book. Really wasn't too bad as far as an RPG goes, and I've been thumbing through it as well as looking at the PDF, and really just thought it would be cool to share this new book with you, do a quick review of the actual physical book itself, and then we're going to dive over into the PDF and just dig into the rules and how the system actually plays. It's super simple, really straightforward, and it's designed to be a solo sort of journaling experience where you through some roles and just through a lot of creative writing and a lot of just you answering different prompts, you discover the history of this vampire from the moment of their conception, per se, to becoming a vampire, to the moment of their demise, inevitable demise, as the book puts it. But I wanted to start with the actual physical copy of the book. Really nice, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful book. It's got a lot of really cool sort of like little art pieces on the side. The back itself, it seems to be well made, very solid sort of material. The binding, a lot of books, especially when it comes to things like Paizo, one of the biggest complaints for them has been like their binding falls apart. This doesn't look like it's going to fall apart. Really, really nice. I love the sort of like gold inlay. It's a beautiful, beautiful looking book. As you open it up, it's got this really cool kind of splash art. It seems to sort of lend itself to this kind of like Victorian era, maybe like the 1500s, maybe 1600s, is where it sort of implies it'd like you to start. But I mean, when you create your vampire, you can literally start anywhere as far as it goes. Now, the book itself is not too long. It's only about 150, 153 pages long. So not a really long book. And a majority of the book is comprised of these prompts. And we'll get into that a little bit later, but these prompts are really just, it helps you tell the story of your vampire and what they experienced, what they went through, and where they began and where they inevitably end. One of the big things I really, really like about the book itself is it does come with these built-in little fabric bookmarks, as it were, and you've got two different ones. So you could hypothetically put one of them on a rules section, which again, the rules are super simple. And then as you journal, assuming that you don't do the entire history story of this vampire in one clean go, you can mark off where you left as far as the prompts go. Now, the one thing I will say about the book itself that I was a little, I don't want to say annoyed at, but it just kind of made me question it. There's no like reference page on it. There's not something that says like, hey, your rules are here, the prompts are here. There's no reference section for it with the different chapters. So, figuring out where things are, you just kind of have to thumb through it. I mean, it's relatively straightforward. The book itself, starts with just what is Thousand-Year-Old Vampire, goes into it. And again, to comment on the paper, it's that kind of thick, almost photo-like paper, so it doesn't feel like it's going to rip or tear. So I'd say it was definitely worth it. We did purchase it for about $47 US, and that comes with the physical copy of the book with shipping. I believe it was like $50, so not bad. And you also got a PDF. You got two copies of the PDF. One of them is a single-page version of the PDF that just has like page by page, so it's easy to read on the phone. And then the other one is a side-by-side PDF where you can actually, read it as though you were holding a book, which is super nice if you're reading it on like a computer screen or something. But again, the only critique I have about the book itself was the fact that there's no chapter list. There's no like real index or anything telling you where everything is. So you kind of have to thumb through it. Now, I was thinking about that a little bit. That could have been a creative decision that they wanted you to maybe feel a little frustrated and have to focus on your memory, because part of the story itself of this vampire is you advancing through the centuries and forgetting your past, replacing it with new memories. So it could have been a creative decision by the makers. I'm not sure if it was a creative decision or not, but it was just one thing that I did notice about it. Now, the game itself, plays pretty simply, as it were. And again, you just kind of flip through it, and It really just dives into like who your vampire is, what you need to play. The play itself, super easy. D10 and a D6. That's all you need. And if you don't have access to those, you can there's a random numbered table where you can just like close your eyes and put your finger on the page and it tells you, what your number is going to be. And we'll get into a little bit of the rules here in a little bit. But again, as far as it goes, the art in it is very evocative, very inspirational. They've got these really cool pages where they just like have like different prompts and explanations about rules and things like that. It's good. It's really, really good. As far as that goes, it's the quality of the book, the artwork, obviously a lot of thought went into it, as it were. But as far as that goes, I think what we're going to do now is, we'll just take one final look at the physical copy of the book. Again, pretty nice looking book. We'll put it sideways. We'll do one of these. It's got a good feel to it. It's a little heavy, and I think it's going to look good on the shelf, as it were. But what we're going to do now is we're going to pivot over to the actual PDF, the PDF of the book itself. So what I've done is I've just pulled up the PDF. Pretty straightforward. Starts off, you've got the nice little cover there, beautiful looking cover, etc. And what I want to do is I just want to go with, you need to see the spine? All right, hold on. Someone says they need to see the spine. I thought I showed you the spine. There you go. Hold on one second. Let's see here. Let me boot that back up. Here you go. Isn't that the spine, right? There you go. It's nice. Super nice. It's solid. It's thick. It's a good-looking book, man. A good-looking book. There it is. Spine. This 1,000-year-old vampire on the side there. It's got this beautiful, beautiful little markings. It's actually got this little thing here. It looks like a bit of like the leather was torn off, and you almost think that the book's like ruined, but it's actually part of the book. It's designed to look like it's a journal, which is one of the mechanics in the book, is that your vampire can journal memories that they don't remember physically, except for the book. But there you go. All right, there you go, Artemis. You've got your binding, your spine reference. You can make an informed decision now, my good man. All right, so let's go ahead and turn that back off. So, minor damage. It's designed to look like it has minor damage. So what I want to do is I just want to really quickly go through the rules of this particular game. Very, very straightforward. And I think one of the coolest things about this, and what I'm excited about this, that I'm going to be playing with my wife here on Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, we're going to be doing a playthrough of a vampire that we're going to chronicle the journey of their life from beginning to end together. So not necessarily, the game isn't necessarily designed to be done like that per se, but that's the way we've decided to do it, and we're pretty excited about it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And but again, for right now, we're just going to go through the rules really quick. So the mechanics are super simple, pretty intuitive. You build a vampire based off of, you just pick a time in history, and then you build this vampire, and there are a couple of different, there's these things called memories, there's experiences. Memories comprise up to, a number of different experiences, but I'll get into that here in just a few moments, and then, give you just a basic idea of how the game system works. So the Vampire Chronicles, we're going to be recording 5 different things. And again, I've gone over the dice, D10 and D6, but you have memory, skills, resources, characters, and marks, okay? So memories are going to be a series of experiences. An experience can be something as simple as, my name is Renard. I was born just outside of France. That is a memory, as it were, or an experience. Excuse me. That is an experience that you had. That is something that encompasses you. And then a memory would be something like, my name is Bernard. I was born just outside of France, or my father was a guard for the local duke. I apprenticed under his the blacksmith of his fortress. And then so you would have 3 experiences. I am Bernard. I was born just outside of France. My father was a guard for the local duke. That's another experience. And then I apprenticed under the blacksmith for the duke. So those 3 experiences encompass a memory. The memory is all of those things together about your time in France, where you were born, etc. So experiences in general should be a simple evocative sentence. And they actually give a kind of an example of how you would write this experience. It would be a description of the event, and then perhaps how you felt about it. So you could say, my father was a guard for the local duke. And then, I was very proud of his accomplishments, or he was a very prideful man, or something like that. And again, this is really just designed, the system is designed to, you are creating a story. You're creating a living, well, an unliving creature that you're going to go on and on. Are you limiting the amount of memories or encouraged to flesh it out? So that's actually a great question. That's actually a phenomenal question. I'm really glad you asked that. So your vampire at any given time can have up to, I believe it was 3 memories. I just had, let me actually go down to the character sheet. They actually do have a character sheet in here. Let me get to it. Bear with me. Yeah, so you have up to 5 memories that are made up of 3 experiences each. And every time you get a prompt, you may have to change a memory, you may have to like erase a memory and replace it with a new one, and basically your memories help you respond to the different prompts as you really are just writing the story of this vampire's life. So you can have up to 5 memories. Memories can be composed of up to 3 experiences each. All right. So, and then if you have to add a new memory, like if a prompt tells you add a new memory, you have to erase an old one. Basically, that's your vampire forgetting a portion of their history, because over the course of this game, your vampire will live for hundreds, if not, it's literally called 1,000-year vampire, right? So live for hundreds and hundreds of years, and you will inevitably begin to forget things. But as far as that goes, let's go back to the first couple of pages here. So that's just a basic idea of memories. And again, those are designed to give your character life. One of the things I really like about this system that I think could help with even any other RPG system is it gives you this sort of guided means to which to create a character and to give them life. And it's something that I may actually take and use in other RPGs, both for myself and maybe encourage my players to look at it as just like a means to, manufacture a living, believable character. So again, those are memories and experiences. It's descriptive things that describe your character and experiences that they've had that have created these sort of core foundational memories of their existence and helps really define who they are. The next thing you have here, these are example experiences. So it gives you examples a lot as you go through it. When remaining Macallan clan in tow, I flee into China. They confiscate our arms, but I recognize as a gentleman and made a guest of a powerful bureaucrat. Boom. That's an example of experiences. And then you would take 3 of these example experiences and they would become a memory. So basically your memories are think of your memories as like a hard drive, and your experience is the data you put into that hard drive. You have 5 different hard drives and you only have, 3 gigs of data, and every experience is a gig of data. And that's how it works. And if you max it out, you've got to delete something else to replace it. That's my best description that I can make for you as far as that goes. But the next one is going to be diary. Now, diaries are really cool. Diary is also referred to as basically a resource. So your vampire can actually save memories. What you do is you take the memory, you write it, or you write like a D next to it, or you take a circle, like circle it, and then draw a line to your diary, and you can place up to 4 vampire memories in the journal. Now, the interesting thing about this is that as you progress through the game, your character can gain and lose resources. So once you take a memory for the vampire and you put it into your diary, it is no longer part of the vampire's mind. It is only remembered as it was written down in the diary. So, we write things down from an emotional standpoint. It may not be exactly what happened, but, you can reference memories in the diary as long as you have it on top of the 5, regular memories that you get on your character sheet. Now, if you lose your diary, though, then those memories you no longer have access to. So it's very interesting. It's just kind of a cool way. And again, you just write a brief description of the diary, what it looks like, and then you connect different memories that you've chosen to store or place in that diary. And then hopefully your vampire doesn't lose it during any of the prompts. Now, skills are there's not like a skill list. It's not like Pathfinder. It's not like D&D or anything like that. Skills are things where occasionally the book will tell you what skill you get. And then the idea is to take that skill. So one of the skills you can gain early in the game during one of the prompts is bloodthirsty. So you would go to your character sheet, you would write bloodthirsty under skills, and then as you respond to further prompts, you can narratively and descriptively use the term bloodthirsty to describe like how your character reacts to something. So an example prompt might be like you're chased down by some local lords, right? How do you respond to it? With bloodthirst, you mean like, well, I rip their throats out and I'm covered in blood and I am, I have to flee the area and head north to, France, or I don't know, France to England or something like that. But these skills that you get, you use them to help flush out and describe how it's supposed to kind of guide your prompts. And you want to try to be, it's, again, this is all just a creative writing exercise, really, is what this RPG is. But these skills give you things to reference and kind of help guide your story and help you flesh out this character. And one of the examples they give here is really cool. So instead of fighting this, revel in the plight of your humane vampire when they go to help a friend out. So, for example, vampire, when they go to help out a friend out of a bureaucratic jam and find that the only skill they can check, so the only skill they can use for this encounter is Rage and Kill. They have the Rage and Kill spell. So they want to help this friend who's got a bureaucratic, situation, and you as a player want to you want to be diplomatic about it and use your words, but the only skill you have on your character sheet that you can use, because the prompt says you have to use a skill, is Rage and Kill. So then you have to narratively describe how you solve your bureaucrat friend's problem using Rage and Kill. You probably murder all his opponents, which is terrible. But again, it's kind of a dark game, right? Now, the other thing you get are resources. Resources are things like you maybe have an ancient family dagger. You have the title to an ancient land. You have a cave that your vampire hides out in for 100 years. They can be things that you can take with you. They can be physical places. They can be, just all different sorts of things. Some of the ideas that they give: a screened-in Cabernac, a Roman legion. It could be something like you have access to a Roman legion. Literally, you were a Roman soldier and you led the legions. You know what I mean? So these are things that you will use to help also answer prompts as you move forward. And you're encouraged to be as creative, as macro or as micro as you want with this particular system, as it were, with the resources. The other section here, just to quickly go through, is characters. Now, there's two different types of characters that your vampire will have. You will have mortal characters and immortal characters. The game is pretty clear that these immortal characters could be other vampires. They could be werewolves. They could be ancient gods. They could be river spirits. They could be ghosts. They could be fae. They could be whatever your imagination can come up with. And as you go through the game, you will gain characters, so gain and lose friends. And so, for example, let's say your vampire, was born in 1000 AD. And you're going through a prompt, and the prompt basically guides you that 100 years go by. You will know that any of your mortal companions, let's say this is early in the game, and you had a brother, a father, and a wife, they're probably all dead now. So you'd have to cross them out, and then you'll slowly start to replace them with new characters as your vampire proceeds forward. So it's kind of a sad story. One of the things they do say in here, it's kind of as a warning, is like, there's a lot of really dark themes in this. You're playing this horrible monster, basically, and you're watching them, basically evolve and lose their humanity, more than likely, or struggle to keep it over the course of time. And as they are immortal and they live on and on forever, they watch as any of their mortal friends come and go. They sometimes maybe gain immortal enemies or allies or acquaintances, whatever you might say. But it's a really cool concept. So the last thing here is marks. Marks are very specific. They are things that identify you as being a vampire, things that identify you as being an immortal. Examples that they give are a pair of great bat wings, your eyes are hypnotic, a dark halo that I cover with tall military hats, just otherworldly things that would identify you that may come up in play as you're answering the prompts and may, hinder or help you in some way. So just again, very, very basic idea of how it works. And then as far as the creation goes, you begin by creating a mortal person, And so, just to give you an example, so start by imagining a person in the distant past: a Roman emperor, a Mesopotamian midwife, a French knight. This person will become your vampire. Imagine when and where they were born, who they were in life. Start with a memory and one experience that encapsulates their history. This is the example. I am Henry, son of John, born near the Lorry Valley in the 13th century of our Lord. I am a poor knight swindled out of my inheritance. The first experience is a little bit different than most experiences. It's just a broad summary of the vampire's life prior to becoming a vampire. And then that experience will be slotted into the character's memories as the first memory. And then you have to create some mortals. You record them on the sheet. Usually these will be things like family, friends, lovers, whatever you might have. And then you give your character some skills. These should be things that are like referenced to their life. So if you're a Roman soldier, maybe you have skills of sword fighting, survival or something like that, and then you maybe have educated or something could be a skill. Like you're an educated, like a lot of the Roman soldiers were educated. They could read and write. You know what I mean? So these are just things that you could reference. They could also be you know just anything like that. I know I'm being a little vague here, but again, it's kind of a vague game in a good way. Then you give yourself some items. You give yourself 3 resources as far as it goes. So it could be something as big as I command a Roman legion. It could be something as I have an obsidian knife, or I own a home. I have a homestead. These are things that your character had prior to becoming a vampire. And then you have to create at least 3 more experiences, each being entered into a separate memory. So you create your starting memory, which is comprised of with an experience. Okay, so the experience goes into your starting memory, which is going to be like basically where you were born. And then you create 3 more experiences that get slotted into 3 different memories. Okay, so you're basically creating these little paragraphs. Each of those paragraphs is a memory, and each of those paragraphs will be comprised of up to 3 different experiences as it goes. You can have up to 5 of those. The last memory or experience that you have in your last memory is when you were created, when you became a vampire. So you start the game with 3 characters, 3 skills, 3 resources, and then you have 5 memories. Each of them has 1 experience on them. So you were given an opportunity to, as you progress through the game, you have these 5 memories, each of them with 1 experience, which gives you 2 additional experiences to add to those memories prior to having to move on, prior to having to erase a memory and replace it with something else. But it's giving you this, relatively fleshed out character, and then you start with him being turned into a vampire. And it's the example they give is like Baron Hullemuller, an Australian noble and vampire. He stole the deed to my land. That is the beginning of this memory, right? And then his experience might be: I duel the eerie Baron Hullemuller across the roof of the abbey. He nearly cuts my head from my shoulders, but I do not die. This leads to the mark that he has, which is: my neck is permanently broken. I wear tight scarves and walk slowly to maintain my dignity. So very, very cool stuff. And then as far as playing the game goes, super simple. You take a d10 and a d6, you roll them, you subtract the 6 from the 10, and you move either that many prompts forward or that many prompts back. If you roll the same number on each die, you encounter the same prompt again. So the way that the prompts are set up is pretty simple. We'll get to that. But there's just a couple of other just small little rules that they have. You will notice that prompts have a second and third entries. These are encountered the second and third times you land on a prompt. So every page of the prompt section has 3 different prompts you can encounter over the course of the game. So like if you roll up from 1 to 6 and then roll back down to 1, you would encounter 6 once and then 1, and then if you do 1 again, you'd encounter the second prompt in 1, and I'll show that to you here in just a few moments. If you are instructed to check skills but have no unchecked skills available, you lose a resource. Likewise, if you cannot lose a resource when instructed to do so, check a skill. When either of these substitutions occur, it indicates that things have gone badly for your vampire. So if the game prompts you to put a checkbox mark next to a skill, but you have no unmarked checkboxes, then you have to lose a resource. If that happens, that means you should flavor your response to the prompt in a kind of negative way, like something bad happened to the vampire. If it comes to a point where you have neither a skill nor a resource, then the game ends. That's where your vampire story ends, and you should use that prompt as inspiration to describe your vampire's inevitable demise, as it were. There are certain prompts that say your game ends here, but those are very later in the prompt section. So the basic idea is that the deeper into the prompts you get, the better they become, per se. Maybe not. Maybe they become better. Maybe they become bad. But as you get higher into the prompts, the number, it's a greater chance that your vampire story is going to end. Now, there's two different styles of play. There's the journaling style, which is where you're actually literally writing a journal of your vampire story. You're going over and through this journal. Like, you could actually physically have a journal. They recommend, like, write everything down as you go through and you can fill it up. And then there's this kind of quick play style where you're just sort of describing it as you go. Maybe you write notes, maybe you don't. I would encourage you to keep some kind of notes, but pretty much it encourages you just to respond to every kind of prompt. It's just kind of a one, like a one sentence sort of answer kind of thing, just to keep it very simple. So there's a quick game and the journaling quick game. You answer the prompts entirely in the memory area of your character record. This method is fast and satisfying and gives you greater flexibility of interpreting your vampire story. In the journaling game, you keep a diary, answering the prompts in writing, dedicating a short paragraph or so to each question. You'll end up with a document that you can look back on later. So again, the main one is just do the quick little memory thing. The journal one is that you will write like full paragraphs describing things. You actually create basically a book as you go through. It's pretty interesting. I think the journaling game tends itself better to a solo play. And I think the quick game where you're just kind of doing these little prompts in the memory section of your character sheet, that tends it better to, like, if you want to play with a friend and you're both describing the vampire. There are rules for a multiplayer to where basically you play two vampires that may work together. They may be opposed, but you sort of guide your prompts as you answer prompts together. You flavor them with relation to the other vampire. So it just adds kind of an extra narrative thing where you have another person running another vampire. Miss Wolf, my wife Chelsea and I are going to be playing just a single vampire starting on Thursday. We're pretty excited about that. Last thing I want to show you guys really quick is just the prompts. They're pretty cool. I've read a couple of them. I'm trying not to read a whole lot because I don't want to ruin it for myself. But you start counting at prompt 1 as soon as you've made your vampire and you've had them turn. And then you subtract a d6 from a d10 and move that many prompts in plus or minus. A positive number moves you forward, a negative number moves you backwards. You cannot move back past prompt 1. You just encounter prompt 1 again. A 0 keeps you on the same prompt. When you land on a prompt, resolve the first entry at the top of the page. If you land on a prompt again, you resolve the next entry for that prompt. If you've landed on a prompt 3 times and encountered all 3 entries, skip to the next prompt. So it forcibly guides you forward. So I'm going to give you just a couple examples of some of the prompts that they have to get an idea. So prompt 1, let's say you created your vampire. You roll a d10 and a d6, both come up 1. You actually start on prompt 1. There you go. So in your blood hunger, you destroy someone close to you. Kill a mortal character. Create a mortal if none are available. Take the skill Bloodthirsty. So you would describe your character, and if this happened right off the rip, you'd have 3 mortal characters around you. And let's say those mortal characters were my father, my wife, and my brother. You would have to flavor your response to this as you your character giving into their blood rage and killing someone close to them. And you can kind of flavor it like, how does that affect them? How does that make them feel, after this? And I just think it's a really cool kind of thought experiment. It really just gets your mind churning. And as my wife showed this to me, she actually showed this to me last night, and I started reading this. I was like, this is really cool. I think this is really going to help with just like getting those creative juices flowing. And it's definitely dark, but I think the basic concept of this like journaling experience of telling a story and writing it, it reminds me of like those old, choose your own adventure books. You know what I mean? But it's giving you a lot more creativity with choosing the adventure because you're literally writing the adventure as you go. Last thing I wanna show to you guys here is in the back they have some additional prompts. If you kind of play through it a couple times, there are some additional prompts. These ones sometimes seem to kind of bend the rules a little bit, as the book warns, and some of them are just downright crazy and outlandish, is what the book warns you. So those are for like advanced play. But the last thing I wanted to show you guys here, just give me 1 second. This is the random number table, so you can just like close your eyes and put your finger on the table if you don't have dice. So something you could do while you were like on a long car ride and had this book, and you could just play it and have a little journal and write in it. It's kind of cool. You've got, let's see here, this part. So this right here is kind of a safety tool that they added in, which I thought was pretty cool. A nonverbal affirmative consent tool for narrative play by Taylor Stokes, adapted for solo play with Tim Hutchings. I actually do know Tim Hutchings. At least I've heard of him. But so this gives you an idea of like, as you are playing the game, there are different things that might pop up, and you can reference this kind of visual thing to make sure that you're not like stressing yourself out or getting into somewhere where like, you know, it's affecting you and giving you like negative emotions. So the green section, the green leaves, I'm feeling relaxed and comfortable. That's good. Someone should make a movie out of this. Like, these are reactions that you might have. I can't write fast enough. That's a good sign. You're having fun. You're really enjoying this. I'm curious about what happens next. Things that are still considered pretty good, you know, etc. I've lost track of time. I'm feeling for the character right now. I was absorbed by this moment. Like, these are still like you're in the yellow, green, like you're doing good. If you start to feel like my breathing is feeling constrained, disconnected and disengaged, stiff and numb, distracted and mixed or forgetful feelings, my heart rate is increasing, tension in my body. Like, if you start to feel that way, you're getting towards the red area, and that means maybe you should stop playing for a while or step away from the game. So I just thought that was kind of a cool thing, because normally when you're playing an RPG, you're surrounded by friends and you can check in with them. If you're doing the story by yourself, there's no one to check in with. So they offer this visual, basically this visual buddy to kind of help you out and make sure that you're still doing A-okay. Other than that, it does give you, if you go here, it gives you suggestions for group play. Just a quick little thing about how you can play with other people. And then I think the best section is actually appendix. It is good given the nature of the game, Artemis. You're absolutely right. It's very, very, very good that they have that. I thought that was a great idea. The last thing, and probably the most helpful of all the appendices, is appendix 6. And I've said the last thing like 6 times, but I keep remembering as I've only read through this book like once. So I'm just remembering where everything is. But the appendix 6 play examples, this is a great opportunity to look at some examples of how these characters are built. And it actually goes through and shows how they build, and it shows the different memories, shows the marks, and it gives you 2 different examples of 2 different characters, so that you have a reference of what should my character look like. Not to say you have to like do the same timeline or the same memories or anything like that, but it gives you this kind of structure of, oh, this is kind of what I should be going for to make sure that I'm enjoying and getting the most out of this game. Last thing here, just the character sheet, which I thought was kind of cool. What I've done for our game is I've actually taken this character sheet, turned it into a PDF, a JPEG, and I've placed that into a Roll20. And then the missus and I will simply be writing things out using the Roll20 text software to just journal our story as we go through and tell the story of this vampire, whomever they may end up being. But with that being said, I think that's where we're going to cut it off for now. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly bring back the book itself. Again, this is 1,000-Year-Old Vampire. It won a bunch of Emmy Awards in 2020. Really, really cool. Really, really cool book. The game was written by Tim Hutchings. That is the creator of the game. I would definitely, I'm going to let you guys know what I think of it once we've actually played. But as far as the book itself, the concept behind it, I'm really excited to give it a shot. Super, super, super excited to give it a shot. What I'm going to leave you guys off with on here is just going to be a quick little 1,000-Year-Old Vampire intro video that I put together for the missus and myself for our upcoming game.